Not too long ago, barely 3-4 weeks ago, he's come up with another very controversial statement. He says the era of the computer is gone. I wonder what that means for the rest of the world. He's credited for outstanding things like the iPod, outstanding movies like The Incredibles, Bugs Life, all movies that have won Academy Awards. And this guy clearly didn't stick to the status quo. He's Steve Jobs from Apple Computers. The second rule breaker I would want to share with you was born Jewish in the US. Currently converted to atheism. He's rumored to have a history of hacking into people's files using his good skills in software development and programming. He, just like the previous one, also dropped out of Harvard University. I mean, most of us are probably looking forward to doing a master's or getting some education from a place like Harvard. For him, that was a boring option. He opted rather to be out on the streets. Today, he has over 400 million people visiting him monthly. That's 400 million, it's like half of Africa at your door every month. And these 400 million people come to him through the outstanding website he's developed, which is clearly the most engaging website ever built to date. His name is Mark Zuckerberg, the founder and CEO of Facebook. And I'm sure most of us here are Facebookers as well. Now the third guy, and my favorite guy, he was born at Kukrantumi. Not too far from here, I guess. Enjoys lots of things that we all enjoy doing. His first day at school, he was the only one in shoes. Everyone else wasn't wearing shoes. So the next day, Mommy sends him to school and says, hey, well, if you insist I should wear shoes, I'll wear them for you. Halfway, he stops at a plantation, hides his shoes, and walks to school. He did this consistently, even when he had been warned over and over. For me, the most fascinating thing about this man is, and sorry I'm speaking just about men, I wish I'd searched for some rich content from women as well. He never came top of his class when the exam was simple. When there was a relatively simple maths exam and the highest was probably 97%, he'll be sitting somewhere at 60. The moment the exam was too complex and the highest grade was 48%, 50%, you could trust him to be the guy who comes top. I mean, what kind of person would opt for the most complex only to show what it's made up for? Along the line, he became the national champion in maths quiz that existed back then. He got out of the University of Ghana and realized he couldn't save a dime when he was working. So you know the option he took? He opted to join the military, because in the military, he has his uniform, he has his quarters, he has his 3 square meals a day. There's no point in trying to save. Today, he sells loans at rates that no bank will dare sell. He's taken a loan in 48 hours to nowhere but Nigeria. I mean, how bold can you be to extract such a model and take it to Nigeria, where we have all sorts of perceptions of how finances could be managed? And he's completely certain that he's going to change the face of banking in the years ahead. I guess you all know who I'm talking about by now, Captain Amoabin. Now, when you look at the 3 stories, my concern is to do not fixate ourselves with the issues on ethics and morality from these stories, but how big these people's appetites were for doing something different. And if you look at Facebook, for instance, have you ever imagined what it would be like if Facebook wasn't around today? Can you imagine the number of people who would never have access to loans because they did not have a fixed address, etc., if UT and the UT group wasn't around today? Can you imagine how rigid computing would be, or even listening to music would be without an iPod? Just because they opted to break rules or the norms, they've created shifts in society that will never ever be forgotten. So why do I bother you with the issue of craving to break boundaries or break rules as you walk out of the university? Most of you are going to look for your first jobs. Most of you, a couple of you are also going to start your own businesses. Wherever you find yourself, you'll be having some impact on society. Now, the most successful people out there survive by constantly challenging the status quo, challenging what's always been accepted. They have no room for employing people or partnering people who do not think the same way. If I had the option of choosing between a guy who has all the knowledge, let's say in graphic design, to join me, as against the guy who is constantly curiously thinking up and asking questions, why can't you do it this way, why can't you do it that way, I would go for the guy who is curious, simply because the guy who has a lot of knowledge. About a decade ago when I got out of here, we're pros at using applications like Photoshop 3. Today it's totally irrelevant on the market. What you know today could become obsolete overnight. If you are positioned to consistently find out new things, contribute new things to the organization within which you are, propose new solutions, you become more relevant. And as long as you are relevant, your reward is higher. So my challenge to you today is spend some more time asking why not than why. Spend some more time looking at why can't a mobile phone tomorrow be the same as a loudspeaker? So instead of talking through this, I'll just pick my mobile phone, I'll speak to you and all of you here. My challenge to you is just go out there, think differently, make yourself more relevant, and you certainly get to the top. Thank you very much for your attention.